Hi folks, I'm Gary Dunship at Big Ben Saddlery, and this month's tack tip I'm going to show you how we stitch with 2 needles here when we're doing some hand stitching, and has a lot of applications that you can use on your saddles, bridles, all sorts of tack. So here in a minute we'll get started. Alright, first thing we're going to do here is go ahead and get our needles threaded on, and like I told you, call it stitching with 2 needles. You got a needle on this end, and then get whatever length of thread you need, and you're going to put a needle on this end. And the way you do that, you go ahead and thread the eye of the needle with the thread. Then once you pull it through a little ways, and then get the end you pull through and drop back, I don't know, a couple of inches, and run the needle right through the middle of the thread, dividing it as evenly as possible, and punch it through, come down over where you threaded it, and then pull it back to about an inch or so from here. And then you're ready to start sewing. Okay, now say we wanted to sew these 2 pieces of leather together. We'd get some rubber cement or contact cement, butter both sides, not just one side. Do a thorough job all the way to the edge. Do the other one as well. Make sure that it's coated all the way, the entire area where you're going to put this piece. But then wait about 5 full minutes, 10 minutes on contact cement before you stick them together. I'm going to put that over there, and I'm going to get a piece that we've already glued together and trimmed. And whenever we stitch something, whether it's on the machine or by hand, we like to channel it. And by channeling it, there's a little tool here. It's called a patent leather compass, and it's like a compass on one side, and it has a little bitty eye cutter on the other side. And you put it down. This is your guide on the side here, and you just pull it, and it cuts a channel in there. That way when we stitch it down in there, then it's going to, the string will be pulled down into the channel. And then when you ride through brush, or it gets wear up next to the horse or whatever, it doesn't wear your thread out and come unstitched. So when you're hand stitching, then you get what they call an overstitch wheel. And this just has little points on the end, kind of like a real sharp spur rowel, only a lot smaller. And they're numbered, either number 5s, number 6, number 8, whatever. And whatever their number is, that's how many stitches they're going to lay down per inch. So this is a number 5, and that means that after I ran it over there for a 1-inch distance, there should be 6 holes making 5 stitches. Okay, now let's go back around. Well, let me tell you about the needles here. The needles that we use here, and it's good for almost everything we do, are harness needles. And these are 18 gauge, and they're 2 3/8 inches long. And you can get them too long. You don't want them too long, like if you're on the one side or the other of a cantle binding. You can't get it to push through. So this is a good length, a good size. Doesn't break very easily, and we sell them here at the shop. Most saddle shops sell them. And then we're going to be stitching with a stitching awl and haft. This is the awl, the blades called the awl, and the handles called the haft. And you can put a crescent wrench or a special little tool on there. Just open it up, stick the awl in or take it out, and it clamps down around it as you tighten it up. And the awl is diamond shaped like this, so it makes a real pretty hole. And we also sell those here at the shop. These are number 45s, and they're 2 1/4 inches long. And let's step back around to the stitching horse and we'll stitch a little bit. Okay, this is a stitching horse. You set on it and open the jaws up, place whatever you're going to be stitching in there, and then you clamp down on it. Down here it's got a little foot device, and we're going to be using our awl and haft we talked about, and got a little beeswax here. I like to just poke my awl in that beeswax before I start, and it'll just make it glide through that leather so much better. Also, another thing that helps, sometimes those needles are so big, you don't punch any bigger hole than you have to. You kind of want to have to force the needle and thread through it so that the hole stays as small as possible and doesn't allow moisture and dryness and weather to get down in there. And another important thing is after you're done is to hammer your stitches, and that closes the holes back up. So I like to use a little of this rosin, and you just break a little flake off like that, and then just bust it up on your fingertips where you're going to be pulling, and it'll really give you some grip. I know bull riders use this to rosin their ropes with, and bull rider from Alpine was in New Mexico coming back from a rodeo, and he got stopped, and they searched him and looked in his rope bag and found his rosin, thought it was crack cocaine, so they hauled him off, but I think they got it figured out after a while. Okay, remember we said the awl was a diamond shape? You want to run it the same every time. If you run the diamond a long ways this way, and then just lift it a little bit on the front end. That's the way I like to do it. Okay, here's our first hole. And you can make one hole as you stitch it, or you can do a bunch of holes and then stitch them all. But you just put the needle through one time. We've just got a little bitty short piece of thread here in order to keep everything simple. But once you run your needle through one time, put your needles together and get your thread even, and make sure this is even up here. Okay, we're ready for the second stitch. You just go to your second mark, the overstitch wheel made. Come with this one from the back side, pull him through but not all the way, kind of keep a hold to that thread. Put your second needle in there and pull back on the thread so you don't run that needle through the thread. If you run it through the thread, then you're going to have a mess. Let's get it back even. Okay, that should be the last time we have to even it up. Then you pull it really tight and it falls down into that channel. But you want to suck it up as much as possible on the back side as well. And that's all it is. You just keep repeating that one time after another. Try and keep the needles in your hands all the time and don't put them down. It's not always possible to do, but if you can, that's the fastest way to do it. Pull back so that needle doesn't go through your thread. Some of the applications for this kind of stitching on a saddle, this is the way we stitch the saddle horn and your cantle binding. They all get stitched like this. And if you're at the ranch and you have something come unstitched, it doesn't matter where it is. If it was machine stitched before, you can hand stitch it back if you don't have a machine, and it'll hold real good till you can get the whole thing repaired. That's about it. Rest of it's repetitious. At the end, you can come back and back stitch one stitch. Just go over the last ones. gets a little tight, you might need your pliers to pull it through. And you can cut your thread off on both sides. And pretty much done. Well, we hope you learned something that might help you out sometime, and we appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for watching.